Welcome to True Health Tuesday, and the truth will set you free. You're not going to get truth in a lot of different areas. I'll tell you that right now. Let's look at the propaganda. Let's say we're sitting together and you said, dude, let's brainwash an entire planet and get them completely confused about anatomy, physiology, and neurology so we can control them. Well, there's a pattern behind this. Now, have you heard this over and over and over? Protect your neighbors, stay at home, wear the mask. Don't you care about your community? You got to flatten the curve. Okay, you hear this message over and over. In Long Beach, they passed a law that you can't be outside without a mask. Now I'm going, gee, that doesn't match the data that I have. It's kind of foolish, okay? It doesn't prevent infections, and I'm going to give you the data points on that. So I thought, okay, screw it. I don't want to get a $500 ticket, so we start walking on the docks. And so I'm walking on the docks, which is not the boardwalk, and we meet this guy who's working on his boat, and he says, yeah, man, got to flatten the curve. And I thought, whoa, it's psycho world. Okay, so this was April 8th, and I like this article because he kind of surmises it. Now, let's say that you were sailing at the ocean for 2 months. You know, you're coming across the Pacific, and you just pull into the harbor, and you think, okay, it's like, this is crazy. So just think of this. This is not April Fool's. Millions of people have lost their job overnight because the government shut down the businesses or their ability to do work. Tens of thousands of small businesses have shuttered and will never reopen. Okay, that means 80% of everyone employed is employed by small businesses in America. 3/4 of the American population is subject to house arrest. Stay at home, save lives, protect your neighbor. Okay. Why? People are fined, arrested, or jailed for violating these restrictions. Now, are the restrictions based in science? Neighbors turn them in. Now, please remember this when we go to elect, re-elect, or when elections come around. If you have a mayor of a major city that says, turn in your neighbor, okay, I mean, that's kind of, it worked good for the Nazis. It really did. You know, they were able to control the population. But is that adding security, comfort from a leadership perspective? Attendance at religious services is forbidden. Forbidden. You can't go. I mean, if you're sailing and you come back after 2 months, you're thinking, wait a second, every priest, every pastor, every minister, every rabbi says, okay, my God is not as powerful as your media. So I'm going to follow the rules of the government that says no more than 10 people together. Why not 15? Why not 10 feet apart? Why 6 feet apart? Okay, and think of this, every major event, I'm talking tornado, what would people get together? They'd get together and pray. Every type of war, what they would do. Bombs are going off. What would you do? You'd get together and pray. Not now. The government has usurped that power, so you don't need to worry about it. Now, this article is off of one of the deleted videos. I got 6 deleted videos now, okay, from the COVID, because this is from the journal Lancet. And they said, look, and this was January 31st, they said, this is a virus. This is a virus. 45% of your DNA is virus. Viruses go through the population. You cannot stop them. They go up and they go down. The susceptible people get it. We know that this virus now, we didn't know it back then, but we know that 85 to 90% of everybody that gets it has little to no symptoms. We're talking 0.1% that die have comorbid conditions. So it is responding just like a standard one. Some people say it's a bit more infectious. It's not near as deadly as SARS. It's a little bit more infectious than the flu. Okay? Fact. and it goes through the population just like every other virus. Has anyone in here lived through a pandemic yet? Were you alive last year? Anybody in here alive last year? You lived through the flu pandemic. Were you alive back in 2009? Anybody? Anybody? Put your hand down. You're not that old. Okay, yes. You made it through the H1N1. Did you make it through 2003? Yes, you made it through SARS. It's the same thing. Viruses attack sick tissue. Viruses attack sick people. No one in ever history has quarantined healthy people, ever. So let's look that the rest of the world is going through. We have unrest in Italy. They're saying this lockdown doesn't make sense. The Philippine president, this is a guy, please remember when you go for the elections, warn troublemakers who violate the coronavirus lockdown rule. First, my orders, if there's trouble and an occasion that they fight back, your lives are in danger, shoot them dead. Is that understood? Dead. Instead of causing trouble, I will bury you. Oh man, that is just warm and fuzzy. I want that son of a bitch as a leader. Okay, so let's be clear. This is allowed. You can get fast food. It's okay. But if you go to a church to share God, to get your communion, that is not okay. That is not allowed. Let's be clear. You can stand 6 feet apart inside of a place to get food. You are not allowed to sit next to somebody and worship. Anybody want to go along with this? I'm telling you, any priest, pastor, rabbi, anybody, any religious leader now, get arrested, break the law. This is foolishness. Masks. Let's go to the governor. Let's go to the California government. Now, just for the heck of it, have you seen people wearing masks? All the time. Is it effective in preventing it? Or what do you think when you see a mask? Do you think security and love and just they're doing something great for your health? Or does it add fear and anxiety? What's the underlying thing? Now, what's this parent teaching her kids? Be afraid of the environment. Be afraid. You're not designed to live here. There's viruses out there. You gotta wash your hands all the time and don't let people see you breathe. Okay, well, let's look at that. This document provides, in April 1st, 2020, helpful information in use of cloth face coverings in general public when outside conducting essential activities. It does not substitute for guidance about social distancing or hand washing. And what does it say when you read down? How well do cloth face coverings work to spread COVID? There is limited evidence to suggest that cloth face coverings by the public during a pandemic help reduce disease transmission. There is limited evidence that that's what it says on the California site. Gee, let's look at a study. This one was done, or it was printed April 6th, and they had 4 people all with positive COVID signs, coughing up everything else. So they put them in a room with negative pressure. They cough in a petri dish. Then they put a mask on. Then they put another mask on. And then they do it again. Okay. What did they find? Well, for one, they said that the small study, 4 people, but we're looking at actual study, not just a recommendation. And then halfway down through the paper, you say, well, it doesn't really work. Okay, cast doubt on the ability of a surgical or cotton mask to effectively prevent dissemination of the COVID from the coughs of infected patients. Citing concerns about the asymptomatic, the CDC recommended late Friday night that all Americans should wear cloth masks in public, even though they don't recommend it on their site. And then, interestingly, the swabs on the outside of the mask were positive for CARS, while the swabs on the inside of the mask weren't. Why would that be? Because it's a fragile virus. It actually dies at 80 degrees. So if you're breathing in here, do you think it's more than 80 degrees inside of my mask? Yeah, so it kills it. So, just know. Now, this again, when elections come up, think of the mayor of San Diego. Okay, now is this a leader? Remember, We only allow the government to be in power. We allow the government to be in power. If they do laws that are ridiculous, not based in health or security, then they need to be fired. Mayor Kevin Falconer, no jokes about that name, okay? He's a real Falconer. Okay, order Monday the closure of all city-owned beaches, parks, trails, citing the lack of physical distance among the residents. I have directed the city of San Diego to move forward with closing all these. There are far too many ignoring physical distance rules this weekend. Action that can cost the lives of many. Any data to support that? Or is it just drama? Does he respect his constituents that put him in office? Or you guys are not smart enough to follow the rules? Okay, you actually think that the person you slept with, like your sweetheart, you could maybe walk closer to. It's 6 foot distance. Don't worry, if you go to markets, and this was a trip, I thought there's no way. This was in Vermont, but I heard it's at all the big stores now. They're limiting your purchasing. So if you go to Target or Walmart, you can get food, but you can't get arts and crafts, beauty supplies, carpet and flooring, clothes, electronics, entertainment, furniture, home and garden, jewelry, paint, photo surfaces, sports equipment, or toys. How will that prevent the spread of an infectious agent? You will now submit to this because you are not going to say anything. How much longer and how many more restrictions are you going to tolerate as a public? Okay, and then what are we going to do? The same mantra is going to come on. Why? Stay home and stay safe. This is your restriction. You got to put these rabbit ears on. Wear them to protect your neighbor. Wait, no, I'm sorry. The mask. I drip back to Steve Martin. Okay. The World Health Organization, they say, look, now that people are locked in their homes, the only transmission is inside of the homes. So the World Health Organization, somebody that you did not vote into power, now wants to come into your homes to take care of you because you're too stupid to do it on your own. Don't worry, they'll take care of you. Now, if you decide to post on social media, yes, last year there was a $100,000 fine put on a chiropractor for putting posts that you should question vaccines in Canada. This is now going to be a universal law that if you put a dissenting opinion, what was that in that Constitution? Wasn't it a bill of what? Bill of what? Bill of what? Bill of Rights. Oh, freedom of speech. Oh, don't worry about it. Okay, because if you post it, you can get arrested, and this is what they're proposing for the laws. Now, 6 states have not locked down. I hope you know this. 6 states have not locked down. Now, the way that if you look at the layout of the country, it was kind of cool because the founding fathers actually had a really good idea. They thought that they would give states a lot of independence. It's almost like a group of countries that are coming together that we can pool our resources. We don't follow the Constitution, but if we did, it'd be really cool. It was a great idea. The freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion. Forget that. But originally, it was a great idea. So when all of this crap finishes, we might want to look at it and go back to it. But so far, Arkansas, 14 deaths, no statewide lockdown. Iowa, Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming, no statewide lockdown. Now you might think, well, isn't this dangerous? Yes, these states are independent. They're making decisions for themselves. They're not walking on the beach in San Diego. If a state was, they would be shoved aside because states aren't smart enough to keep that 6 foot distance. Now, think of that. A state is making, okay, so now why are they making the decision? Well, Arkansas this week reported 118 deaths from influenza this year so far, 14 deaths from the COVID. So I go look at this and I'm thinking, wow, this is really interesting. This was just yesterday. States resist stay-at-home order playing a dangerous game. Okay, can you see how the media is kind of like promoting the psychosis that everybody wants to feed you? And then the governor They're coping with a strategy that's failed over and over. Okay, and he goes in to say, look, if we need to do more, we will. So that's an option on the table if we have shelter in place. But right now, we're doing what proves to be successful, this targeted approach. And there has been quarantines, and quarantines are very effective, very effective. But you never quarantine healthy people. This is a unique experiment, and we can look at different countries around the world that haven't quarantined their population. You quarantine at-risk or sick individuals, knowing that this virus, like every other virus, attacks you if you have a weakened immune system. So it'd be a good idea to keep those people separate, but I'd rather have them walking on the beach, taking vitamin C and vitamin D, exercising, getting healthy as much as you can. So if you have a susceptible individual, help them with their immune system. Does that make sense? Yes or yes? So this shutdown of the economy, things will never go back to normal. They will never go back to normal. I was in a meeting with this super high-powered accountant, and I'm like a little business guy. Okay, I was with some really, really big guys. Okay, and this accountant was saying, look, there are going to be these loans available. You can sign up for them. Some of them you have to pay back. Some of them you don't have to pay back. And I'm going, wait a second. Where is the government getting the money? They're printing it. Okay, now if anyone knows anything about Economics 101, if you have a value of $1 that's this much, and you make a bunch of them and you haven't increased the value of what you just printed is less. So you can't just say, shit, we're short of money, let's just print some. Okay, that is crazy. So this is going to be an economic downturn like nothing's ever, like no one's ever experienced. So what are the ramifications of shutting down the entire world? Now we know other countries, they're going through that viral, exposure and recovery, just like a normal virus. This is totally different because now we have an economic recovery that in the United Kingdom, some experts say will take 10 years to get over it. I don't think we ever will. But hopefully, if we can look back at that old piece of paper, the Constitution, states can come up and be smart. When we come up with an election, we need to fire the people that are running this. Maybe the guy from Arkansas wants to move to California. So now let's look back at 2008, because that was a big downturn, a big crisis, but it wasn't you could say it was induced by policies, but not because of a virus. Okay, because now if you want to crash the economy, no one's going to blame Trump, no one's going to blame anyone else, no one's going to blame the government of the United Kingdom, no one's going to blame poor trade, no one's going to blame all of the things of the massive loans for the World Economic Forum. No one's going to blame the countries borrowing money. They're going to blame the virus. So the people in power can utilize this disaster, okay, and blame something other than themselves so they can get put back in power. Okay, so if you can kind of get the gist of it, that's where the economic problem is coming from, that it was already there. It was already there. America's been exporting her debt for a long time. But let's just look at the 2008 crisis. Now, in this, and I'm just looking at suicide, because if you look at suicide rates for Corona, you're not going to see anything. Okay, so what we got to do is go back, and 2008 was pretty good. When we look, for every suicide, there are 30 to 40 people who attempt to kill themselves. Now, men are more likely than women in the family members to kill themselves, gives a greater degree of shame, unemployment, and seek help. Clearly, there's a factor that governments need to keep in mind when planning for economic downturns. So did Governor Newsom say, wow, we can't shut every restaurant, every factory, every, a busboy, waiter, waitress, bar, and most of the retail shops down, which is going to cause a massive economic catastrophe, and this will lead to suicide and suicidal thoughts. Did he say that? No, it was out of an unrealized fear. Now that's not it, because this is going to happen next year and the year after and the year after and the year after. This is not something that we can go back. Think of this. Can you go back to the person wearing the mask, say, and walking 6 foot away from you to say, dude, guess what? It's passed. Oh, thank God. I don't need that anymore. Who needs a glove? Give me a hug, baby. No, you've instilled this fear. Okay, it's like I was at the market and this gal was putting away stuff and I did not have a mask. Why? Because I understand anatomy, physiology, neurology. My immune system is super friggin' strong, okay? I don't need to wear it, and it doesn't work. I've read the data, okay? And I've read the rules. No one's requiring me to do it except for Long Beach, okay? And I was in Long Beach, so to heck with it. Okay, so you look at this, and she was putting stuff on a shelf, and she waited. There was like 3 feet there that she could walk by. She waited for me to move back. And I said, hon, it's okay. We're fine. And she says, no, I'm taking care of 3 elderly people. And I said, oh, okay. Where does this come from? You are not going to go back. You're not going to be instilling fear over and over and over again. I was looking finally at regular news. I mean, I never watch it because I do like research on real research, not the crap they're feeding people. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, my God, if you have a loaded gun, for God's sake, don't watch the news. I mean, you're going to shoot the TV or yourself or your neighbor because it's just doom and gloom and dead and this, and it's mind blowing. But this is the outcome. We have to take charge of our lives now. Obviously, the government isn't going to do it. When we look at this, suicide rates of the Depression, okay, it was 22 per 100,000. Right now, okay, we're about half of that, a little bit more than half. Okay, and this is standard. With the economic catastrophe, you're looking at minimum of 72,000 people dying every year from depression, suicide, because of the economic downturn. We're not going to even talk about the distress, the homicides, assaulting their partners, getting into stress. I mean, recession babies are more likely to end up with delinquency. It's crazy. When I put this slide up last week, what does poverty kill? How many people does poverty kill? Was these decisions brought in to say, my God, we have to balance, okay, the spread of a disease based on ineffective methods and the people that poverty will kill. Okay, we're looking at around 874,000 people a year die from poverty. This is more than cancer. This is more than heart disease. Now, where are the numbers coming from? This is actually the letter dated March 24th from the National Vital Statistics to every doctor in the world or in America to give you a new ICD-9 code. And this is a code that if you have somebody that dies, you have to write down the cause of it. Now, will COVID be the underlying cause? The underlying cause depends on what and where conditions reported on the death certificate. However, the rules for coding and selection of the underlying cause of death are expected to result in the COVID-19 being the underlying cause more often than not. Expected to be it. Let's look at the bottom paragraph. Should COVID-19 be reported on death certificates only with a confirmed test? Okay, before I read the rest, you're a doctor, you have a person that died, and should you report COVID has killing that person without a test? Anybody? Please raise your hand. There's got to be somebody that's manipulatable. Okay, I don't even know if that's a word. Okay, should COVID-19 be reported on the death certificate COVID-19 should be reported on the death certificate for all descendants where disease caused or is assumed to have caused or contributed to the death. Wow. So that means if you're coughing and sneezing or even asymptomatic, because we're talking 85% of the people are asymptomatic that get it, and you're hit by a taxi and you're dying and they happen to do a nasal swab or they'll do an antibody test, COVID killed you. Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, I really want you to start looking at this perspective, particularly when elections are going to come up and we can actually impeach people. I don't know if you can impeach a mayor, but a guy like this that says turn in your neighbor, kick him out. Sherry Tenpenny right now, and well, this was April 7th. At that time in America, 28% of the counties had no cases. And this is all of America. 80% of the counties had 25 cases or less. 25 people, not 25 million, not 25,000, 25 people. Okay. Global deaths from January to March. You're looking at mothers during childbirth, seasonal influenza, that's triple. Okay. Suicides. There are other things to worry about. So why is the entire world shutting down? Why are the beaches shutting down? Why are you walking into your homes and submitting to these insane rules? Let's look at what the WHO, the World Health Organization, did during the swindle flu epidemic. It says swine flu, sorry. Okay, swine flu. They're saying, let me see if this sounds familiar. Up to 7 million people can die. Settle down. 7 million. Okay? I just pulled it right out of really good statistics. Okay? Now, they estimated that it ended up to be about 12,000 people. Okay? So you get somebody that's scaring the heck out of everybody, and people are going to alter their lifestyles. It's just what's unusual about this one. And back then, the World Health Organization, heavily influenced by the drug company, they're actually much more influenced now than they were back then. That was 11 years ago. And the Council of European Parliamentary Assembly went through and they said, wait a second, what's going on? They said there was overwhelming evidence that the seriousness of the pandemic was vastly overrated by the World Health Organization, and that drug industry had influence over the organization's decision. Does that sound like today? It may not have 2 months ago, but 2 months from now, what's it going to sound like? Now, when you go to Mercola, this is a brilliant article. He talks about funding, because I was always taught, if you see something that doesn't make sense, follow the money. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I can follow the money that the entire America is shut down. A lot of the world is shut down. Countries that have a more direct labor force and they don't have, they're not shut down. They can go back to work. And we're not seeing a rise in diseases in countries or states that don't shut down. So this is a purposeful shutdown of the entire economy. Now, the World Health Organization, why would they do that? Follow the money. 75% of the World Health Organization's money comes from vaccine manufacturers. More, when you're talking about the states that are contributing, it's only 25%. So this is a massive group that if you can get the world, because we're talking, if we got forced vaccinations without any liability in America for anyone 18 years old or under. But what if you could open this up for about 9 billion people? Ka-ching, baby. Ka-ching. Goebbels. Now, there is no point in seeking to convert the intellectuals, for intellectuals would never be converted and would anyway always yield to the stronger, and this will always be the man in the streets. Arguments must therefore be crude, clear, and forcible, and appeal to emotions and instincts, not intellect. Truth is unimportant and entirely subordinate to the tactics and psychology. Welcome to your world today. I try to communicate with data, research, anatomy, and physiology. Intellectuals are getting it, but they're not the ones walking around in fear. Protect your neighbor. Wear the mask. Keep 6 foot distance. Don't go exercise. And how dare you do that? So I was feeling kind of depressed, thinking, what the heck are we going to do? then I realized, okay, that there's a life force in people. There's a spirit. All you got to do is awaken it. So belief systems can change. That person walking around, okay, with the mask, they have a belief system that they're either protecting themselves, protecting you, or there's a danger coming in. Okay, that's the lower influence. They have no intellect on that. So what we need to do is explain the science that your body has been here for centuries. Because what are they saying now? What's the talking head saying? This is the new normal. This is the new normal. If you want this as the new normal, where every year you got to be wearing masks, okay? Every year you got to keep social distancing. Every year you got to sign up for the vaccine. Why? Because you gave up bodily autonomy. So that doesn't mean just this year. That's every year. Every year. And plus, did you get the 13 adult vaccines that the CDC recommends? And we can look way back when they lost liability on the vaccine. So from 86 to now, you're talking from 12 shots to 72 shots. Okay, that was a pretty big increase. So this is going to make you, I hate to say slaves, but that's it, okay, to the medical system. So how do we alter belief system? It's perception, evidence, and time. All we got is time. We got time that's slipping away rapidly. So you got to be bold to talk to people and say, hey, look, have you seen Mercola? Have you seen the actual evidence? Stop living in fear. Do you realize that the masks don't actually work? And most of the people are saying no. Let's do marches and things. And I'm going to show you some cool things here. Number one thing, Shackleton. Okay, this is a guy, think of this, 1914. You're in Antarctica. You're on a mission. Okay, you've got men, hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubt, but honor and recognition in case of success. These men got on his boat. He went out there and the boat got locked in the ice, got crushed, and they survived. Everyone survived 634 days. No cell phones, on their own. They got out of there on their own. Nobody came to rescue them. So how do we do that? How do we get back to this? Let's follow his pattern. Because right now, when we're looking at this, we're feeling powerless. We're feeling that we got no hope, and that's not true. We put those bastards in power. We can take them out. But first, we got to find our strength and find ourselves. Okay, and this is what Shackleton did. If he could do it, can you do it? I'm sorry, if he could do it, can you do it? Yes, you can. And this is what we do. First, cultivate optimism in yourself. Okay, you are a divine being. You have an energy about you. Okay, and you've gone through tough shit before. Anybody alive on this planet for more than a couple of years, you've gone through tough stuff before, right? Okay, good. Okay, and look at your pluses. Okay, if you have, and cultivate optimism in yourself is so important because your job may not be there. So look at other stuff you can do. Look at the victory gardens that they did in World War II. So look, and if you don't have a yard, maybe your neighbor does. Maybe you've got hands that can work and they don't. Okay, let's start to form a community and tell people, hey, look, there's going to be some challenging times. Let's get together. What do you got? I got water. You got food? Let's get food. Let's start growing stuff. Let's create a pact. If there's power that goes out, what do you got? What are your assets? What are ours? So cultivate optimism in yourself. Stay grounded in reality. Stay grounded in reality. Nobody has power over you. Nobody has power over you. You're an sentient being. You're made in the image and likeness of God. If you don't read that book, cool. You got billions of years of evolution in this thing. And you've survived the Black Plague. You've survived everything. Your relatives have been here and are designed to be here, despite the ignorant science, okay, which doesn't even exist. Because what happens if you get COVID? You have a 99.9 cents of living. Okay? Be aware of your self-talk. Emotions are chemicals secreted by how the brain perceives the environment. And you can control this. You can do emotional freedom technique. You can do neurolinguistic programming. but be aware of your self-talk, because that self-talk can create our own universe and it can destroy your universe. So if you find yourself going in that dark pit of hell where you keep repeating yourself into safe and effective, or flatten the curve, or bumper sticker slogans that have no reinforcement, no energy to give you life, watch your self-talk. Find outlets to your feelings, okay? This means a friend, connect, okay? If you still believe the BS on the TV, sit 6 foot away and hang out. If you don't, hug somebody. Get that touch and connection, because there is an energy when we're together. One of the biggest things that you can do, let's say we want to control a population. You make one person afraid of the other person, and you tell them you got to separate. And if you do get together, you can spread a deadly disease even though you're both healthy. Yeah, I'm sure that makes sense. People will go along with it, dude. They will. We'll make people afraid of everyone. And then we'll have our leaders say, turn in that person for talking to that person. Find outlets, okay? Of course, you can't get a journal at Walmart because they've walled it off because it's not essential. Let go of guilt. Learn from your mistakes. Learn from your mistakes. Has anyone in here ever made a mistake? Yeah, my hand's still up. Anybody that hasn't made anything has never made mistakes, okay? I remember when I was 8, I hit a parked car. You know, okay, has anyone else had a parked car where you're riding your bike? That is bad, okay? I got to live with that guilt, but luckily I've got some successes and a shitload of failures too. I was walking across the street 30 years ago when I got hit by a car. You know what my son said? He said, Dad, didn't you look both ways? Thanks. I got a lot of mistakes you got to live with. Okay, it's okay. We're all in the same boat. The person that you're hanging with, the person that you're sitting next to here has made mistakes too. Don't beat yourself up for it. Do what you can with what you have where you are. That was Teddy Roosevelt. Long-term goals and short-term milestones. This is the one that broke my brain because it was just like, thank God. Now I don't have to wait for anything because I felt lost. I'm thinking, you got all these people in control. The media's controlled. Everybody I'm seeing at the market or supermarket is like this, okay? I went to go get some dive tanks, okay, for my boat. And the guy is essential services, because if I'm going to go underneath my boat and clean the sucker, okay, I don't want to drown, so a dive tank is essential. And I go in, and he says, no, you got to have, some face covering. So I go like this. He said, that's not good enough. Luckily, I had a piece of sailcloth in my car, and I wrapped it around, and he said, that's good, come on in. But I don't know what's going to happen in a month, or 2 months, or 6 months. I know the economy is going to crash. I know people are always going to need to be healthy, so our businesses are going to be okay. But we're going to have to do things to survive, and like in a community. But I don't know what the future is. So this way, nobody does. Just set short-term goals. Okay, set a short-term goal of meeting each of your neighbors. And I'm talking not just side to side, but front to back. Meet them. If they're talking to you behind a door in a mask and rubber gloves, appreciate it. Don't make fun of them. Not to their face. Okay, you can go home and giggle, but appreciate them, because it's a belief system. It's a belief system. It's a religion. Okay. In fact, they gave up the other religion to practice this one. Okay, the other one's kind of cool. You got some symbols up there. You pray. You sing. Man, I dig those songs in Catholic Church. Okay, so the short-term milestones, just start setting them. Okay, you're going to go for a walk, okay, in the yard if you want to do the social distancing, or you're going to make an effort to talk to your friends to say, hey, look, let's do 6 foot social distancing so we don't get tickets, but let's get 50 people together. Okay, and then what's it? It's groups of 10? So you have 5 groups like that. Let's make a difference. Let's make a difference. This gave me hope. These guys are rocking. Okay, Ohio. Dude, thank God people are waking up, because that's what you need. You need people like this. What are the signs said? My constitutional rights are essential. Yes. Absolutely. Ohio dies when the government lies. Is the government lying? Quarantine the sick, not the Constitution. God, I love that. Who would want to kiss that guy? Okay, hug him anyway, okay? A free people in a pandemic is still a free people. We have to take our rights back. The people are only in power because we put them there, and our apathy is keeping them there. Paris, they're walking the streets. You don't see any 6-foot distances there. No, we're going to take back the world. Okay, the World Health Organization is not going to come into your houses, take your people, vaccinate them, and then put them back because there's no liability on the vaccine. So let's go to the cdc.gov site and find out how many people have died. Well, on the CDC site, this one says there are 5,000, and this was since January 21st. Oh shoot, I didn't put the date up there. But this was, like, I got it off like 2 days ago. 525,000 cases, 100,000 cases, 20,000 deaths. And this is all 50 states plus, the District of Columbia, Guam, Puerto Rico, all the places that we control officially. Okay. Now, why would that 20,000 number be different than on the site dated April 13th? It says 6,900. Why is the difference? Do you want to know? Anybody? Data includes both confirmed and presumptive positive cases. Okay, to CDC since January 21st. So presumptive cases, it's still not 2 million. Okay, and everything is curving down. So you were lied to. This is actually the chart, and so you can see that it goes from February 1st to April 11th, and those are the numbers and the population and everything that's right off their site, so it's pretty clear. And when we look at it, I like this article. Numbers don't light up. Case for panicking over coronavirus is falling apart. It's falling apart all around the world. So if you tell your neighbors, okay, just make sure the mask is not over the ears, okay, and tell them that have them look up facts. Okay, if they have a television and it has channel 2, 4, 7, or whatever, say, look, guys, get on your computer, look at appropriate cable stations. Okay, look at Joseph Mercola. Look at Science Direct. Look at all the other people that are still on there, which should be taken off pretty soon. What was the last flu season? Okay, 2018-19. Just so that we can correlate. Now, was anything shut down in 2018-19? Any lockdown, any stay-at-home rules, any masks, any gloves, any restrictions, anybody lose their job? Was food and agricultural products piling up because the restaurants were closed, rotting in the sun? No? Okay. 42 million people got sick that year. 647,000 were hospitalized and 61,000 died. Now, we didn't do anything with that, and currently the CDC is 6,900 have died, according to this, on one part of their site, say 20,000 on the other. Hell, even if you add those two together, it doesn't even come close to this. Now, you might think, well, the numbers seem weird. Granted, they're not doing, good addition, but where did they come up with this? That the flu from October 2019 to April 4th, it's anywhere between 39,000 and 56 million. No, I'm not going to pull it out. Where do they get the numbers? These guys are controlling your world, your life. If their numbers are based in the ether somewhere and there's no hard data, then they need to be fired or come up to a standard of good analysis. How do we know? The CDC does not know the exact number of people who have been sick or affected by influenza because influenza is not a reportable disease in most of the United States. However, these numbers are estimated using a mathematical model based on observed rates of laboratory-confirmed influenza hospitalizations. That's a pretty big range. Okay, I got a car for sale. It's going to be anywhere between 3,900 and 56 million. Okay, don't worry. The vaccine, once the vaccine comes out, you can go back to work. Once the vaccine comes out, you can go back to work. Has anyone ever heard anything about autism in the last 2-3 months? The autism epidemic? Has anyone heard anything about Alzheimer's, the Alzheimer's epidemic? No? No? Okay, good. So where is all this coming from? Well, in 2003, they had the SARS epidemic. So they started to develop a vaccine for it, which is kind of a bummer because it didn't work. Now, the way you check a vaccine is you inject somebody, check for antibodies. And this worked. It produced antibodies. The problem is if you expose the animals to the real virus, it killed them, and it killed them bad. Okay, you're talking bleeding from the lungs, not good stuff. So no return to normality until the coronavirus vaccine. Oh, wait, by the way, this was published in the PLOS 1, 2012, and they said the SARS-CoV vaccines all induce antibody and protection against the infection of SARS-CoV. However, the challenge of the mice given any of the vaccine led to occurrence of an inflammatory type or Th2 type of immunopathology, suggesting the hypersensitivity of SARS-CoV components was induced. Caution in proceeding to application of the SARS-CoV in humans is indicated. Holy moly, we killed all the rats, and I think there were ferrets in there too. Ferrets and non-human primates. Okay, so be careful. I encourage you to go to Peerless Reads. This guy is just, I referred him to one of my friends, and my friends just his voice drives him crazy, and he talks about numbers. I love this guy because it's data. I mean, data, holy moly. You know, it's like amazing. No return to normality until coronavirus vaccine is available. Things won't go back to normal until we've gotten a vaccine out to the entire world. That's it. That's one of the biggest parts of it. Now, don't worry, because I know you're concerned since the vaccine is going to cause harm in people. We know it's going to cause harm in people. We know there's no such thing as 100% safe intervention. Don't worry, the Department of Health and Human Services has absolved any liability of anybody that produces anything for this. Notice, Declaration of the Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act has for medical countermeasures against COVID to provide liability immunity for activities related to medical countermeasures, declared as of February 4th. So that means that anybody that produces anything, whether it does any harm, you have no recourse. So what can you do? Right now, meet like-minded people. Share this information as long as you got it. Let's connect up. Eventually, the social media will be taken down because you're trying to think for yourself. Let's meet like-minded people, find them close so we can hang out and we can do certain events. It's called taking our country back. Take care of yourself. This means healthy vitamins, nutrients, exercise, but meditation. Okay, don't let this psychotic make you feel unstable, like you don't have control. You are made in the image and likeness of God. By God, look into yourself in the mirror and smile. Okay, there's something unique and beautiful about everybody. So at least you got to take care of yourself. Do not comply with forced vaccines. If you do, this will be everybody every year for forever. Okay, our kids, when they complied in 1986 for their vaccines, when we had a very low chronic disease rate in children, now there's a 54% chronic disease rate in children. I'm not going into thinking that the vaccines are population control, but they are causing and contributing to the chronic illness epidemic that's in America. Cultivate optimism in yourself. Look at the skills you got. If you are a worker and you're not sure about your job coming back, which is only about 7 or 8 million people in America, look at the skills you got. Can you do woodwork? Can you stand? Can you paint? Can you build jewelry? Can you grow food? Can you do massage? Can you do something? I mean, find something. Can you teach piano? Can you teach someone to read? Find a skill set that you have that you can barter or trade or create a new you. Stay grounded in reality. And a lot of people, and this is where I do that neurolinguistic programming, if I'm driving along, okay, and I've got 22 families that I'm responsible for, and I've got to cut back their hours to keep them alive, okay, do you know what that's like? It sucks. And so my brain will get locked into this it's like a dark pit of hell coming in. And I'll think, wait a second, that's delusional. You know, I'm rowing my boat, I'm driving my car. That hasn't happened yet. So then I go in to do that neurolinguistic programming, okay? I'm healthy, I'm dynamic. You know, we are going to get this. We're going to create the whole world. And you do that repetition, that'll create that thought process and those neuronal connections in the brain. Do that. Stay grounded in reality, but watch your self-talk. Okay? Don't look at the reality that's on the TV. Don't look at the Channel 2, CBS, NBC, ABC, whatever the hell. That is not reality. That is a controlled media designed to program you. That is why it's called programming. God, there, you know, I gave you the opportunity. It was so close. Okay. Find outlets for your feelings. This means don't kick the dog, okay? I mean, chopping wood, punching a bag, great idea. Let go of guilt, long-term mistake, long-term goals. We're going to get through this guaranteed, absolutely, without a doubt. And the world will be a better place. If it happens in my lifetime, cool. Okay? If not, we can build a foundation of one where we're thinking about health in a different way, not from an outside in or chemically induced health, but that helps your body, your physiology. We're going to have an economy based in harmony with the world. We're going to be not having an infinite expansion economy in a finite universe. We're going to be living in harmony with us. We're going to solve the pollution and the air pollution, the land pollution, all of this stuff, because it's in disharmony. You cannot live. Okay? There is no animal species on the planet that can live in a disharmonic relationship with their freaking environment. Hell, there's no animal species that's allergic to their own environment, except for humans. Or then the inbred things that we've created, okay? So you can take it back, okay? I'm going to do as many of these as I possibly can. But God bless you, and I love you.
Bergman?
Yes.
Did you, I don't know if it's valid or not, but there was something a couple days ago about the vaccine being experimented on some children in Africa, and they all...
Oh, and they've been experimenting with since 2005. They've been experimenting since 2005. It's every year. Because the COVID, this is the biggest moneymaker that the industry has. Zoonotic viruses, and that's why COVID is like so cool, because we're raising animals in shitty friggin' environments that's creating these weird things that mutate. This is why like Europeans, when they came over to America, Europeans are living in crowded, filthy, shitty conditions, okay, with animals, and we developed a shitload of viruses and resistance. So we're coming over, you know, with the pockmarked skin and stuff, and we're going, why are you guys getting sick? Here's our pig. You know, here's our cow. Here's our chicken that we've raised and domesticated. Okay, yes, they all have viruses in it, but we're fine. Okay, so we spread it. So zoonotic viruses are the next wave because of the fucked up practices we're doing. And that's why they want to develop vaccines and everything else. And it's also great for fear.
So you don't think it was grown in a bioweapons lab?
I don't care. When you look at, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter at all, because you have got certain laws. Like if I drop this, will it fall up? How many times? Not yet. Okay, I could do that 10,000 times, right? It's still not going to fall up. Okay, viruses you got two things. You got infectivity. Okay, so you can make it really friggin' infectious, okay, or deadly. You can't have both. Okay, the only thing that works as a bioweapon like that is chemical warfare. So you get something that infects 18 people at a time, that's measles, and people get over it. Okay, you get something really deadly like Ebola, you're talking it infects like 1 or 2 people max, and they don't live that long.